Yes, a very good morning to everybody. So today we are going to just continue with the discussion of question answers of Albert Einstein at school. Okay, so we will be discussing the textbook question that was left, plus a few extra questions and various other things related to the chapter. Okay, there was one textbook question which was left, the other was, the question was, how do you distinguish between information gathering and insight formation? And what is the difference between the two, and which of these two should a young scholar prefer and why? First of all, tell me what is the difference between information gathering and insight formation? What is information gathering? What is gathering of information? Yes, information gathering. Speak up. Yes, students, this was one question. Hanji, Ashish, Hanji, continue. Gathering of information, studying about something. Then what is insight formation then? Carrying information from different sides. Okay, see, information gathering, it refers to the kind of information which is already there. Okay, the researches have been conducted, the experiments have been done. So you just have to gather the information that is already there. That is, if you just look up for the facts, and it is a kind of a process which is slightly passive, which is the mechanical kind of a process in which relates to memorization, which encourages memorization of facts which is already there. But what is insight formation? What does it require? What is insight formation? New researches and a kind of a perception, a kind of a viewpoint, a kind of opinion that you know or you have about. Do we have any ishneet for in any of our sections? Ishneet. You have to. Insight formation is the perception you have of various things, and it involves through deeper understanding of the subject that is there in front of you. Okay, so what perception you form of various things, that it promotes, this insight formation actually promotes this promotes actual learning. Okay, so it gives an answer to why and how. Information is already there, and after that information is there, you move one step ahead. You and by moving one step ahead, you analyze and you interpret the information that is already there, the data and facts that are already there, and you try to find answers to why and how. So what does a good scholar require? A good scholar requires a fine combination of the two, a fine blend of the two, a fine mixture of both information gathering as well as insight formation. Difference between insight formation and information gathering, but you have to have the combination of two, because the former, information gathering, leads to insight formation. Only if you have the information, only if you have the data, you will analyze it, and you will have a perception about it. So it is one step ahead of information gathering. Okay, then next is, I would be sharing screen now, and I will share certain important things. Certain important points are there, and then some extra questions also. तो अब बच्चे जो भी ज्वाइन कर रहे हैं, आई वोंट बी एबल टू लेट देम ज्वाइन. इतना लेट नहीं अलाउ कर सकती हूँ मैं बेटा. 10:20 क्लास स्टार्ट हुई है, तो 10:28 हो गए ऑलरेडी. द फादर ऑफ मॉडर्न फिजिक्स एल्बर्ट आइंस्टाइन इज फेमस टू हैव डिस्कवर्ड the theory of relativity, which marked a revolution in physics. However, how many of us know the fact that in his early school days, he did not believe in rote learning? What do you understand by rote learning? What is rote learning? Cramming, yes. Just memorizing the facts without having any understanding of them. As a student, and he got expelled from his school. No teacher liked him except for his mathematics teacher, and he too in turn disliked attending school. This led to the school finally taking a decision to expel him. The reason the principal gave for expelling him was that no serious teaching could take place while he was there in the class, and he his presence in the class did not allow the other students to have a peaceful, the kind of atmosphere it created, nobody would have a peaceful learning. So this was the reason. And he was in constant rebellion with the teachers. He was, whatever he did was, in total contrast to what his teachers asked him or what his teachers expected him to do. The narration begins with Albert being asked about the date by his history teacher. This was when he was very abrupt and very crude. Yes, actually he was very, you can say that he was very honest in replying that he found it pointless to memorize dates when one could flip through the necessary pages whenever one needed to. He believed in education, but he didn't consider learning facts as education. He hated school because he hated the conventional form of education, and the teachers found him to be a disgrace. Finally, the teacher felt disgusted and he was fed up and asked him to be taken away by his father. Einstein also hated going home. Why? Not for the obvious reasons of bad food and lack of comfort, but also because he hated the atmosphere of slum violence. He was so against the idea of going to school and adapting to the set educational pattern that he once confided in his friend that he thought he would never pass the exams for the school diploma. He also told his cousin Elsa that he wanted to study science simply because he liked it. When she just asked him about the book that he was carrying a book on geology, and he wanted to study geology, rocks and everything about rocks, but there was not much of teaching of geology or science, as a matter of fact, in his school. He didn't need additional reasons to study the subject he was interested in. He was sent to Munich to study, where within 6 months he grew disinterested and found it useless to waste his father's money, especially when it was so unfruitful and unproductive. This was the moment of Albert's childhood craze, seemed with a sudden bright idea of averting school forever. What do you understand by this word, this term averting? What is averting? Leaving. Leaving school, avoiding basically means avoiding. And how could he avoid school? He just asked his friend Yuri to search for a friendly doctor who would certify him that he had a nervous breakdown so that he could stay away from school. To this doctor, Albert revealed his love for mathematics and his maths teacher. Later in school, he asked for a reference letter from his maths teacher. This is when he heard the most surprising comment from his maths teacher, who said, "I knew you were going to leave before you knew yourself." Okay. Finally, the day when Albert was called by the headmaster, he was not worried. However, he was taken aback. Taken aback means? What do you mean by this term? He was taken, this phrase, taken aback. When you're taken aback means when you are? Yes, when he was really shocked. He was shocked when the headmaster said that he couldn't tolerate Albert's attitude towards education and his behavior in the classroom, which disturbed an ideal environment for studying. Thus, he wanted Albert to leave school, and he felt the medical report burning a hole in his pocket. He left the school where he had spent 5 miserable years without turning his head to give it a last look. He felt like seeing only Yuri before he left Munich. Elsa was back in Berlin when he left. Yuri bade him farewell and wished him good luck. Thus, the story ends up giving glimpses of Einstein's early life and his dynamic concept of education. So, what was his concept of education? He felt that learning facts is not education. Education is all about having ideas. Since he had a flair for science, he viewed things in logical and reasoning way. He did not believe in traditional and conservative way of rote learning, the contemporary system of education, which was outdated and unproductive. Rather, he was interested to know the ideas behind facts and the knowledge was, what the real source of knowledge was. He possessed revolting ideas in connection with education, and later he emerged as a great scientist like many other well-known personalities. So the lesson winds up giving a message to the stakeholders that the students should be allowed to choose the subjects of their choice. Music, fine arts and sports should be made the integral part of school education. It should be made inspiring, it should be made interesting and also purposeful. What children need is freedom. Without freedom, no mental or physical growth is possible. Entertainment and education must go hand in hand. Ideas must dominate our education. Only then our schools will produce geniuses like Einstein. It also leaves a message for students that they should put their queries to their teachers in a respectful manner to avoid any sort of unpleasant environment in the class, as every teacher is, after all, a human being and demands a little respect. Okay, so this is all about the chapter, what message it gives, and this is a summary of it. So these questions we've already discussed, we won't discuss them again, the textbook questions. ये हम कर चुके हैं, inside formation, information gathering and all. So this also we've discussed, only those questions we would be discussing which we have not discussed so far. So why did he feel medical certificate burning a hole? You know it, because it was rendered worthless. What according to the head teacher were Albert's faults? ठीक है, ये पता है आपको, what were his faults? He was guilty of refusing to learn, not allowing others learn, and being in constant rebellion at school with his teachers, and also his presence in the classroom. What did he say about his presence in the classroom? Yes. What did the head teacher say about Albert's presence in the classroom? And he felt it was difficult for the teachers to teach, and it was difficult for the other pupils to learn while he was there in the class. What was the atmosphere in Albert's place of lodging which used to trouble him so much? What was the atmosphere there? You know it, the atmosphere was that of slum violence. And what kind of a violence was most prevalent? His landlady used to beat her children, and every Saturday her husband used to come drunk and he would beat her. Why did he need a medical certificate so badly? You know it very well. He wanted, it was, the school kind of atmosphere that was there in the school, it was getting on his nerves, and he felt that he was wasting a lot of his time there, and there was no use, it was not giving him any good results, and he knew it that, and he wanted to go from there, but he knew it that if he would ask his father, he would not let him come back. So he wanted a medical certificate, a kind of a medical certificate that would certify that he is not well, that maybe he's suffering from nervous breakdown, and he requires some rest. So because of health reasons, so that he could convince his father, and also he wanted to take admission somewhere else. What was the doctor's reaction when Albert visited him? The doctor, he received him very cordially. What is cordially? What is cordially? The doctor received Albert in a familiar, in a very polite manner, and he listened to his problem in a very friendly manner. He even agreed that Albert was really in a state of nervous breakdown, otherwise he would not have come to him for a certificate in that line. Okay, what are the exchanges between Albert Einstein and the history teacher? Nothing else. The biographical piece first presents Albert in confrontation with his history teacher. So the moment the scene opens, the kind of conversation is going on, it is a kind of a confrontation, because they both are in not in agreement with each other on any point. When the teacher asks him in what year the Prussians had defeated the French at Waterloo, Albert flatly replies that he did not know, and this leads to a heated exchange between both of them. When he is further asked why he did not try to learn them, he again replies honestly that there is no point in learning dates which could be checked in a book by anyone. This reply angers his teacher greatly, who responds asking him again whether he saw no point in learning facts, which forms the basis of school education at that time. To this again, Albert honestly replies that he did not see any point in learning facts. Now his teacher becomes sarcastic and asks him to tell the class the Einstein theory of education. Ultimately, Albert opines that he did not see any point in learning dates or battles or which army killed more men, but he would be rather interested to know why those soldiers were trying to kill each other. This made his teacher go mad with anger, and he scolded Albert viciously and asked him to stay back after school for an extra period. This exchange brings out the unthinking honesty of Albert as a child. He, of course, lacked tactfulness, and he was very straightforward. So, he could have been very tactful in answering, but he was very straightforward and very honestly replied what he felt. He spoke whatever was there in his mind. Of course, he used to feel miserable in classes like that of history. His mind was a great mind of science, which used to be in search of the true working of the universe and time and other dimensions. Okay, describe the circumstances leading to Albert getting a medical certificate issued declaring him unfit to continue school. What were the circumstances? There are certain value points given, and you can elaborate them. We've already discussed it, but we would read all these value points. He used to feel miserable at school, which basically taught art subjects. He had regular confrontations with his teachers because of his honest replies. The environment of his lodging place was also miserable. He wanted to get rid of his school where he was because of his father's wish. So he wanted to have a medical certificate certifying that he needed to stay away from school because of nervous breakdown. His friend Yuri helps him. He is sent to a friend of Yuri who had freshly become a doctor. He gets a medical certificate as suffering from, which states that he is suffering from nervous breakdown, and his medical certificate becomes useless because the school itself expels him. Okay. Events leading to Albert's expulsion from his school, you know it. Albert was disinterested with his school, which basically taught art subjects like history. He used to come in confrontation with teachers because of his unthinking honesty. He felt miserable at school and also in his place of lodging, which was full of chaos and domestic violence. He wanted to go to Milan for studying in an Italian school or college on the merit of his acknowledged superior mathematical expertise. Okay, so he needed a medical certificate certifying him unfit to continue his school, and he manages to actually get the certificate from a doctor referred by his friend Yuri. However, his head teacher summons him before he gets an interview with him, and he is informed that he has been expelled from the school. Reasons: refusal to learn, constant rebellion against teachers. So he feels hurt in spite of the fact that he himself wanted to get rid of school. Why is he hurt? Because the medical certificate that he had got after so many efforts, and it had gone totally waste. Okay, this is all about this chapter. Okay, humor. Tell me, humor contained in the lesson. Do you find any instance of humor or instances of humor in the lesson? Raise your. Yes, this can be one of the humorous because he spent so much of time and so many efforts, and after so many of after taking his friend out to a restaurant for a meal, giving him a treat. After so many of efforts, he got that certificate, but that certificate was useless because it is very ironical also, and the head teacher himself expelled him from school. Okay, describe how Albert's friend Yuri and cousin Elsa help him. ये आपको पता है, ये आप describe कर सकते हो. We would discuss only those questions which we have not discussed so far. What do you gather about the character of Albert as a school pupil? ये आपको पता है. You can talk about his honesty, but you can also talk about his adamant nature. You can talk about his rigidity. He could have been polite and respectful in talking to his, while he was conversing with his head teacher, all while he was talking to his history teacher. But he was when the teacher was unwilling to listen to him, but then he was quite outspoken, and he was quite straightforward, and also you can say he was very honest in that sense. And why did he consider the school a hateful place? We've discussed it so many times because the kind of subjects that he was taught in there, they were not of his interest. He was taught different subjects of arts, but he was more inclined towards science. What is your idea about the school system of Germany at that time? School system, it did not promote, did not help in nourishing individual talents, but it promoted more of rote learning and cramming and memorization of facts. Yuri calls Albert the world's worst liar. Do you think this is an insult or a compliment? Why? Bolo, speak up. When he said, "You are the world's worst liar," do you think this is an insult or is it a compliment? If he lies, he is easily caught. So that means he doesn't lie. This shows that this is a kind of a compliment for him, but then it doesn't prove to be helpful in the kind of situation where he was at that point of time, because in the context in which his friend said that if he would try to pretend in front of the doctor that he has a nervous breakdown, the doctor would not be befooled, he would easily be, and Einstein would easily be caught. Okay? What was Elsa's advice? ये आपको पता है regarding study and examination, is that you don't have to understand anything, you just have to try and just learn, just cram the things, just memorize it. Even the parrot can do that. So this was her advice. ठीक है, बाकी हमने ये सारा किया हुआ है. This we've already discussed. ठीक है, ये short MCQs हैं, ये करने की भी ज़रूरत नहीं है. These are very simple ones. So this is all about this chapter. Let me come back to you people. Yes, and just take your attendance. Roll number 1, +1 B1.